For your consideration, Starz presents Outlander. Everything has led to this. The final chapter of the time-traveling drama and cultural phenomenon, starring Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe, is only on Starz. Vogue declares Outlander one of television's greatest love stories. And the rap raves, Balfe and Heughan have perfected this on-screen relationship. All episodes now streaming on Starz. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a special Saturday edition of the Prestige Junkie podcast. I am, once again, Katie Rich. Today, I am sharing with you my conversation with Colman Domingo, who is the star of so many things. You may have lost track. Sometimes I wonder if he is losing track of everything he is making. For our Emmy season purposes, he is the star of Netflix's The Four Seasons, which recently came back for a second season, as well as Euphoria, which ended its third season in pretty shocking fashion, and I had not yet seen the finale when I talked to him. So we talked about the return of his character Ali in much broader terms, and also just in general about how he is juggling everything he's doing. He's also the star of Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. He was in Michael, the biopic that came out a few months ago. He has a lot more stuff on the horizon as well. But as we talk, you kind of realize he's the kind of person who wants all of those balls juggling in the air. And that includes directing an episode of The Four Seasons this season, which was very fun to talk to him about jumping in front of and behind the camera, about mastering that show's really distinctive comedic tone, and just about all the different ways he's learning about his craft, about the industry as he continues to grow his career. He was such a delight to talk to about all of this. He's clearly a delight to work with for someone who works that much, and I think you will enjoy hearing all of it in my conversation with Colman Domingo. If you don't mind me asking with like a really big and obvious question, but the one I'm dying to know the answer to, how are you managing your time these days? How are you doing all of this stuff?
You know what? It really is a feat. I really don't know. I think I have a lot of people behind the scenes organizing a lot. I owe a lot to my assistant, Colin. Swear to God, I don't know.
Yeah, just go through the laundry list. Everyone
updates and making sure that I'm in different places, and then even scheduling rest and like when things start and in between. And so it's all very scheduled. I mean, I feel like that's the thing. I think, and it's funny because I think even some of my friends don't understand, like if I'm scheduling coffee, it has to be exact. I don't really have.
Yeah, no one's running 15 minutes late.
Exactly. I'm like, well, if you're 15 minutes late, we only got 45 minutes now. So
exactly. I mean, I think sometimes actors will say, you work on something, you don't know when it's going to come out, and all of a sudden everything's all at once.
That's literally everything that happens to me.
But also, like, if you're working on a season of Euphoria and you're working on a Spielberg movie, like these are things, even the Four Seasons is coming out exactly when the last one did. Like you must have known for at least some amount of time, like, oh, there's going to be a flood of stuff all happening at once.
Once I started to get dates of when things are happening, like the Michael film, I didn't know when that was going to come out. And then Spielberg, I'm like, okay, I have 2 movies coming out. And then I was like, oh, that's right. Euphoria is going to drop now. And then 4 seasons. And then we're like, and usually I'm like, Anik, I'm sorry, but there's going to be a lot of managing of figuring out how we're going to do this. And
a lot of my face in a lot of places.
Exactly. And that's always my fear. And I feel like maybe that's the fear. I'm like, I know that it's all great stuff and I love promoting every project, but I have my own worry of being overexposed, to be very honest. I really do. Because I feel like I've always been, just like I always kept my head down and did my work. And now, but my work is amplified everywhere. And I just I'm hopeful that there's not burnout. I'm looking forward to, in a way, like I'm like, oh, after this time of promoting Disclosure Day and Michael and 4 Seasons and Euphoria, I want to have a little quieter summer. I feel like also I want people to miss me a little bit. You know what I mean?
I think that's what Zendaya said also, and she somehow has an even busier year. So it's like you guys say that, and then more good stuff comes up.
It's true. I mean, it's the blessing of working and like being people wanting to work with you, and then you just want to measure that and make sure the audiences don't. It doesn't feel like it right now, which is a blessing because it's in so many different avenues. But if you don't want to wear people out.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if part of that is, this is something working actors talk about a lot, is you work forever and you just take whatever you can get. You audition and you audition. And then you get to a point where you have choices. Yeah. And if consciously choosing different things, like the Four Seasons is really different from Euphoria, is really different from Michael and Disclosure Day. Like, is that part of the avoiding people getting sick of you? If you can just say, hey, I'm doing something different. You're not seeing me in the same mode you did last time.
But I guess when I'm choosing projects, I'm not even thinking about what the audiences will respond to. I think it's just like, it's my own directive of like, what am I curious about right now? What am I interested in? What part of... I think that there's obviously always a part of you that is interested in learning something new and discovering something about yourself as you go on this journey, this creative journey to create another human being. And so I think that's why my career looks as wildly different. I think probably more than other actors, because I feel like I'm like, oh yeah, if I've done a version of something, I'm not interested in that anymore. And usually when you're known for something, you'll start getting a lot of offers to play sort of a version of that thing. And you're like, and for me, I completely pivot the other way.
Yeah, I cannot imagine after Zola how much of that character comes your way a million times.
I feel like people have seen that I have a bit of a mastery on playing characters that are a little dark in tone. I would say that have a bit more, whether it's Mr. in the Color Purple, whether it's X and Zola, or whether it's Joe Jackson and Michael. That I'm drawn to characters like that who are a bit more complicated and sort of, I don't know, in the court of public opinion, are a bit more darker souled human beings. And I think it's my challenge to always find their humanity. And so people know that I'm willing to do that and willing to roll up my sleeves to find that and to mine that with my directors and my writers and stuff. But I think that, a lot of people aren't up for that task. But they know that, like, I'm willing, but also I'm also careful about, like, how much of that I do. I'm like, because I've gotten many more offers to play that. And I've said, oh, no. I think I've got to find a way, and it's got to be structurally a way that, not that I think that every character needs redemption, but there's got to be something, a reason why this person is the way they are. So I'm curious about stuff like that. And then I usually switch to lighter fare, like Four Seasons, where I'm really just a person. I'm just a guy. Yeah. And I think Danny is probably closer to me than any other character. There's so many similarities in many ways. And I know that I have a voice and help create him. And I feel like I wanted to create him someone who's closer to me. And I think that that's something I haven't been able to do. Like Rustin has a bit more size and character and things like that, but I feel like out of all the characters I play right now, which is wild enough, I say that Danny's a part of me, and also Ali. Ali is that part of me that I know how I am with the influence I have with young people and being a teacher and being a leader in many ways. So I knew that they're both parts of my personality.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask about coming back to Ali, because I think, the idea that a third season of Euphoria could happen was like, they're all too famous. No one can come back for this show. So when you kind of get I imagine kind of a surprising chance to revisit a character like that, and you get into his backstory in this most recent episode, like, kind of, does it feel like a gift of being said, oh, pick him back up, like, see what else you can do with this person and, run with it?
Sam Levinson had laid out such an extraordinary character for me from the very beginning. And someone who I know he was personally connected to, who really helped him through his trials and tribulations of addiction. And I took that, I really, even from the very beginning, I knew that this character had a lot to say and a lot to pull from. And so I was just waiting. I was waiting for that moment when Sam would go deeper into his story and sort of take him outside of the diner and put him in other spaces and see how he exists. And I knew that it seemed like season 3 was the perfect opportunity. I'm like, because I just knew that, like, especially after once we had that episode between season 1 and season 2, that diner episode that was so rich and propulsive in just me and Zendaya, I thought, well, we've exhausted that. We can't do that anymore. So I'm like, I can't sit at a diner and be a version of Buddha. I'm like, no. He says he had some dark times and he went to the dark places, and we have to see that. And then we have to see how he activates and uses that. And so I'm glad that Sam is sort of, he's very beautifully editorial, how he gave us a hint of Ali in episode 1 of season 3, which is just a diner scene, something that people know. And then he waits. I believe that I filmed something for episode 4 that sort of just got jettisoned out. But he saved Ali until episode 7, where he's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's where he's going to have the most impact, as we exit this season,
What am I allowed to ask about the younger version of yourself you're playing here? Is that hair and lighting effects? What's happening there? Because it's a pretty remarkable effect that's happening to make you seem like a younger version of Ali.
The weirdest thing is this, and I'll tell you this, and I don't know what it is or what the alchemy is. First, I'll start by saying, one time when we were on a Zoom doing a table read, me and Zendaya, Sam was kind of confused. He was like, almost like, where's Ali? Because the natural me, I probably have a bit more buoyant spirit and physical, and my voice is pitched more mid in a way than like where I place Ali's voice. And he was almost concerned in a way, like, well, where's the guy? What happened to Ali? And how do you find that? And I don't know what it is that, like, when it comes to research and dialing in, where I know I can drop into play sort of the more world-weary Ali, where his voice is and his gravitas and his body language and his physicality. And then I also know how to, like, pull it back. All that was done was, like, some simple makeup. Like, usually Ali doesn't have a lot of makeup on. Like, he just looks more, you see more lines and spots and stuff on the skin like I have naturally. All we did was give him a light makeup to soften the eyes, things like that, add the hair. Physically, I think I'm also maybe 20 pounds lighter than the last time I played Ali. So already I was sort of in fighting shape. And then physically, I wanted to, like, let him be a bit more lithe and have a bit more life in his body and in his eyes. And so through that magic, we took off some years.
Man. I mean, if you're going to have a beautiful slow-mo shot of you like that, like, if you're going to look as fantastic as that, you may as well really make the most of it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you were saying that on the Four Seasons, Danny is, like, closer to you and a much more, different character than Ali. And I think this, part of the magic of Four Seasons is how, like, deceptively casual it is. Like, it seems so easy. You just get 6 people to hang out in a room. And anyone who's made something like that knows how hard it is. And you directing it, I feel like you really know how hard it is. And so you directed, I think, the last episode, or one of the episodes of last season. The first episode this season and one last season too, right?
Episode last season, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, so having done it once, was it such a good time you wanted to do it again? Or were you like, oh, that was such a great challenge, I want to do it again? Or somewhere between them?
Tina Fey did my Enneagram. And by Amy Poehler, we found out that Amy Poehler and I have the same one, which is 8.
Which is which? 8?
Which is basically the challenger. We love challenges. But you set us up with the challenge. It's like we run to it. And it is a complete challenge to direct an episode of a show that you're also in at the same time and manage that. And I've learned to do it. And I don't know, I feel like I have the brain for it and the brain space for it, how to prep and work through a show, also be editorial and also note myself, and always have a monitor off stage, and I look at that, or I'll set up shots and then I would take a look at it and then keep moving things forward. And you know what I mean? I feel like I'm that collaborative also. I like that challenge. So for me, it feels natural in a weird way. I've come into, even the way I came into being an actor in the 90s in San Francisco, by doing everything. I've always been a writer, director, actor, and a producer, and sometimes all at once. So I feel like there's just certain brains that can handle that.
Yeah.
and sort of thrive on that,
Yeah. When you had directed a couple episodes of Fear the Walking Dead also, so you kind of had that, like, TV-based experience. Yeah. Like, is it a similar kind of challenge as it was back then? Or is it kind of growing as you...
It's such a complete different challenge, because Fear the Walking Dead is like making an epic film. Because it's, the visual effects, the special effects, the acting, all the stuff is wild. And we would accomplish that in 10 days of work. Prepping for 10 days, shooting for 10 days. Now, half-hour comedy, it's its own animal, where you don't seem to have, you have a lot more scenes, but not enough time. And then it's very sort of scientific and mathematical about comedy as well, to sort of like to sharpen those tools and find the right angles and find when you have it and then to move on. So it's a very different rhythm, but I also really like that rhythm. But also I love the rhythm of, like, being up against the clock, and also you have a lot to accomplish, and And Four Seasons has its own special, I don't know, trick where I already know it's funny. So as a director, I know that I'm working with the kings and queens of comedy. That's a given. Now for me to give them an emotional grounding to make sure that it's like grounded and sincere is my task. And then to build the world around them to make sure everyone exists and is doing the thing that they want to do with the film. Like, it's very much, it's such an ensemble. And I always, even the way I frame and do framework of with camera and lenses with my DP, we make sure that everyone sort of, it feels organic and we're all together,
Because you're taking advantage of having all these people. I mean, because this first episode, everyone's kind of like, I guess they're all like, everyone's in one space together.
Absolutely.
Those can also be so hard to do, to block it and get everyone there.
But that's why I put us at tables and I do sort of these shots, these 360 shots that are like sort of like the opening of the Roseanne show, or it very much is taken from that, or like Hannah and Her Sisters, where you're just tracking, you're doing a dolly around the actors to make sure that everyone feels organically connected with one another. So for me, that first episode was setting us up to remember those warm feelings we had as a company, and just know that little complicated things will happen when they split off. But you're going to hopefully, as you go down the line of the episodes, you're going to wish for that moment that you had in episode 1 when everyone was together and the camera was keeping us all cozy together,
So you're kind of leaning into like the classic sitcom. Like Four Seasons is sort of a classic comedy and sort of not, but you're leaning into that visual
Very
language of like, we want to remind you of sitting in on set of Friends or something
that's
like
exactly
that.
it. That's exactly, literally, that's exactly it. And then, and that everyone has a bit more, I like to believe that everyone in our cast, and the way I like to even like shoot them, everyone is, I don't know, I think sexy and fun and witty. Everyone's smart. You know what I mean? And I feel like you can do that with the way you frame it and the way you set it,
Yeah, just make everyone look great. Is that part of what you get to do as a director?
Oh, I love that too. Yeah, everyone has to look great.
I mean, I know that there's a lot of great directors who come in and direct the show after that, but having been behind the camera on the first one, and I don't know if you guys are shooting in order, like, do you have to consciously turn off that director brain and be like, nope, that camera is doing, the director can see something I can't, I am back to just being an actor now?
Well, the beautiful thing is most of my fellow, so I directed episode 1, Tina directed 2, so we're cross-boarding those episodes together, and we lean on each other and say, oh, what do you think about that, Tina? I say, oh, I think that's great, I like that. Or she'll ask me a question about her, so I'll see what she's trying to achieve, and I'll pipe in. Because the beautiful thing is that I feel that I've some ownership with the show. I think there's something about that once you direct an episode as well. You cannot turn that off. You know that other directors are coming in, and you just want to be helpful when it's helpful. Usually I know my lane, but also if there's a problem, we're trying to problem solve, I think to have another set of eyes on the show who have set the tone and knows what you're going for. I can pipe in and say, oh, lean into Tracy, Tracy Fisher, who directed an episode, or Lang, and suggest something, because they know that I know the show that they want to achieve, and I can have another set of eyes. So yeah.
So you say the show is funny. You've got the scripts that are in there, and you're making sure the emotions come out. How do you know when you've got that down? Is that something like that's an actor's instinct that the emotion has come across the way that you want it to? Is it kind of combining those skills of just because the Four Seasons is kind of unique in that a scene can end on an emotional beat and not just a comedy beat. It breaks some of those rules of classic sitcoms and leans so heavily on the emotions, which sounds like is what you really tapped into on that.
I think so. I think you have to actually. I think that's the charm of the show as well, is that it's not afraid to get a little messy, and also find that underneath that comedy, there's some pain, there's some longing, there's some angst, all the things that we understand for people in their mid-50s. That this isn't, everyone's just not living surface. We have a lot underneath us that we're unpacking and trying to work out as we go into this next chapter of relationships, platonic and romantic. So I think it's threaded with the show, and everyone's up for the challenge. I love that last season in particular. I know that, it's funny because Tina, she knows her skill set and she knows what her lane is, but she's also so willing to grow. And I remember I gave her the task of because I know she can get the barbs and the wit. And then I said to her, I gave her one piece of direction last season with a scene and an argument with her and Will Forte. And I said, you cannot respond immediately. Let that land on you. And then I said, I didn't cue her and to move until I know that it was working on her, what he said, and how it landed on her emotionally, until it was very uncomfortable. You saw her started to crumble and her character's mask starting to fall. And I said, and exit. And then she left, and it was so beautiful to see. And I know that she felt good about it too, because it was like bringing up being fearless to say like, oh, we're funny. The funny's going to happen. But what about all the other stuff under there too? That mixture is what's going to land with our audiences.
Yeah, you get that vulnerability out there that, comedy people may or may not expect to see. For your consideration, Starz presents Outlander. Everything has led to this. The final chapter of the time-traveling drama and cultural phenomenon starring Sam Heughan and Katrina Balfe is only on Starz. Vogue declares Outlander one of television's greatest love stories. And the rap raves, Balfe and Heughan have perfected this on-screen relationship. All episodes now streaming on Starz. Okay, so you have your director hat on when you're making 4 seasons. When you're on a Steven Spielberg movie, is your director hat just completely gone because it's a scale that is
gone.
not...
I was completely gone. Oh, my director walked way out of the building because I'm working with one of the masters of this form. So therefore, I was like, you just pipe down, director. But the thing is, Steven just invites you to be so collaborative. He wants to hear your ideas. He wants to know what you were thinking. He wants you to have a brain trust built like him as well. Like even before we went into production, we were sharing research and videos and books and ideas and documentaries because he wants you to know what he knows. So when you're on set, you can go anywhere because you have a vast knowledge together.
Yeah.
So that's the way he empowers you as a creative and a collaborative to know as much as possible so you can be as loose and ready to play as he is.
Do you find yourself taking notes even subconsciously, like not that you'll make a movie like Disclosure Day, but you got to learn something from watching Spielberg up close for your future
learned the way
directing?
he moves camera and what his the motivation behind camera moves are, it's all deeply emotional.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the thing that I think you can't teach in school. You must know it, and you know it when he'll come in with an idea of the way he wanted to block a scene. But then we'll read it, and he'll hear what we brought to it on this day, and he may change the momentum of the camera, of where it moves. Because he said, "Oh, that's what the story is." He said, "I didn't hear it that way. I wanted," and so he would gather his DP and his camera operators, and they would go with another plan. But he's also very open and loose in that way. He's not so rigid, saying that he has every shot completely mapped out. Yet he does. He storyboards everything. So there is a plan, but he's also very open, which is, it's really wonderful for someone who's been a master of this form for so long to be that open and innovative, to feel like he feels like an ambitious young director.
May we all be so lucky to feel ambitious and young. And, I guess when you start your career by working around the broken shark and Jaws, like you learn to be creative and loose, and then you can build it
to know
from
you can
there.
have another plan. Exactly.
I know, seriously. Well, so if you look at your IMDb, there's a lot of different projects that you may or may not be directing, and it's very hard to tell what's actually happening. Is directing like more of that in your future somewhere, whether or not it's imminent or not?
1,000%. I've come from the theater, and I always directed in theater. I've always been a director for plays and musicals. And then as I started directing television, it was really just like, getting my sea legs as well and figuring out, how do I lead a set? How do I gather my department heads and create a vision? And I've been prepping. I've had the blessing and the misfortune of prepping some films that for one reason or another, whether it's financing in this crazy world the way we are right now, that like Scandalous got put on the back burner. I was in prep for that for like 8 months, and then and then it's the financial, it's the windy way we are right now when it comes to adult films. Right now, we just couldn't get the rest of the financing, so we had to punt and move it around. So we'll see if we get back to that. But I know that I was really moving it forward, and then I've been in prep and pre-production for Unforgettable, which is an Nat King Cole biopic. And again, just waiting. It's all timing. It's money. It's all those tricky things of this business. But I know that that's something that I'm moving forward. And so I do think that I believe personally, and I always tell people, I think I'm a good actor. I'm a good actor I have skills that can take me into different lanes as an actor and produce things that I think I care about. I think I'm an even better director because I think I love to galvanize and lead teams and problem solve. Which is why I think, again, my brain works. I've never just been an actor on set. I'm always looking at everything else. I'm examining the writing and the beats of this and scenic design and everything. I can't stay in. There's no way for me to just stay in my lane of just an actor, because I'm always thinking about how we're making the whole thing.
This is that Enneagram 8 thing you're talking about.
Is.
It's like, I see a problem, I'm going to go jump in
it's
and figure
true.
it out.
If something needs to be sorted, I'll take it on. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, the way you talk about these projects, coming and going, and I know it's just kind of the rule of how it works. You just learn to make your peace with that kind of thing from doing theater, which I know is also challenging, of saying this might happen, I'm going to work on it. Whether or not it ever exists is out of my hands. It just seems like a hard thing to make your peace with.
I think when you make peace with it, when you take the ego out of it, and it's not about you. It's not that nothing is on your shoulders and failed because you didn't move it forward. I feel like you go forth with everyone with faith. And you're taking a leap of faith every time you say yes to a group, a company, a producer, you name it. But then there are details that are out of your hands. Whether or not especially when it comes to getting financing or what people are in the mood for yesterday, they're not in the mood for today. You know what I mean? So I think that you just have to roll with it and just. But that's why I feel like I've always been a multi-hyphenate. I always have something else going on. So you don't put all your eggs into one basket. You just don't. I think even when we pressed pause on my film Scandalous, yes, it was painful for a moment. But then immediately I'm like, okay, well, as a leader, I have to call my department heads and colleagues and let them know that it's now on a pause. I don't know when it'll pick up, but it's now on an indefinite pause. And then to trust that, this wasn't for naught. I walked down this road and I have made great colleagues with these people that I've been in the trenches with. And that's going to be useful in the future. You just have to know that everything is useful. I feel like this happens all the time when you talk to people about things that are finished. It's like, hey, this is the first time you've worked together. And they're like, oh, no, we developed a thing and it didn't happen. Or we were in a writer's room that didn't go. It's incredible how many relationships and knowledge gets built on that. I think, Katie, the one thing, I keep saying it, I feel like as long as you realize it's not personal. Yeah. And there's a saying, someone said, be careful because your emotions will lie to you. You can't be emotional about it. You have to be pragmatic about it. And say, okay, that you have to take the emotion out of it. It's not about. And I remember I would tell people, I'm like, oh man, it looks like that got put on pause. Oh my God, they're horrified and they're sad. I'm like, it's okay. Are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm actually okay. I'm actually okay because I think, again, I've also been that person that makes sure that I try to be well adjusted in this industry, knowing that it ebbs and flows. And it's always been that way for my 35 years in this industry. So therefore, you got to have things that make you feel tethered and grounded and where you feel useful, whether it's gardening, whether it's cooking, whether it's, having friends and loved ones, something that makes you feel like you're useful and you're growing and you're giving to society and giving to your art so that when things fall apart, you're all right. You can get up easier.
Well, and you have a setback, but then you have, work on something like Sing Sing, which has so much stacked against it, and it succeeds. And you say, okay, things can get through the process. There is a path for it. It must give you kind of maybe the next thing will work too. It has to help in that way.
Maybe that's the thing. I do know that some things that are, you never know what's going to work. You really don't. Listen, we made the Michael Jackson movie. That took over a year and a half of shooting and rewrites and stops and starts. And at some point you're like, I hope it's going to be great. I hope that people will come out to see it. I think we're putting our best intentions behind it. And then it becomes the juggernaut that it has become already. You're like, you're in awe. You don't know. We really don't know. All I know is how we're making it. That's all I know.
Yeah. You do this long enough, and the people who tell you in the business they do and don't know what's going to work, you can say,
you really don't. You hope with every project, and you're like, you just don't know what people want to appeal to, and I don't know what the marketing teams are going to do. I don't know how the rollout's going to go. I can only control so much.
You can be an Enneagram 8 over and control a lot of things,
exactly.
But there's
Certain
a limit.
things you can't control. I'm like, well, then I don't know what Enneagram I become. I'm like, well, I don't know. Just leave it to you.
That's what the gardening's for. You can control at least more of the garden than you can. Helping a movie. That does it for today's special bonus Saturday episode. Believe it or not, we have another bonus episode coming this Monday, as well as a regular Tuesday episode. We are so busy this time of year. Look out for all of that next week. In the meantime, this podcast is edited by Brett Fox and produced by Brett Fox and me. Our theme music is by Dave Gonzalez. You can subscribe to the Prestige Junkie newsletter at theankler.com and subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you next week.